Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. We're really excited to have you today. This is the Toolkit launch event for the Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center. We are so excited to launch this toolkit. It has been a labor of love, to put it nicely. And you'll see why in a little bit. We put a lot of our heart and time and talent and treasure into this resource and are very proud to present it to you today. So thank you all for joining us. This will be recorded and put on the Northwest Rocky Mountain Region website, as well as provided to anybody that RSVP'd today, as well as probably put in the upcoming newsletters. So if you're not able to stay on the whole time, recording will be available. And if you weren't able to make it with us live today, we're glad that you're watching us from the comfort of your own home somewhere later at a later date. So just real quick, I really want to thank our funders for this project, which was the Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center. We are blessed to live in a region that really understands and prioritizes the value of shared use kitchens of all the centers across the country. They've really looked at shared use kitchens as a lynch point and a linchpin for local food systems and really value the work that's happening there. So we really thank them for allowing us and giving us the resources to create this toolkit, because we know it's what the industry needed. And an update was needed because the first one we did was pre-COVID, and a lot has changed in our world since then. So really want to thank them for the vision and the leadership in sponsoring this toolkit. And then I'll just introduce myself. My name is Ashley Colpart, and I am the founder and CEO of the Food Corridor. We are a software as a service platform for owners and operators of shared use kitchens to help manage their operations more effectively. So we handle scheduling and booking, compliance management, billing, invoicing, and lead generation. And then because this community has been growing so long, we also host lots of events, lots of education, provide lots of technical assistance, which you'll learn about some of that today. But we really love this industry. Our mission as a company is to enable efficiency, growth, and innovation in local food. And we really believe the shared kitchens are the heartbeat of the local food system. So this work is very meaningful to all of us. And we thank you for being here today. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to my co-author, Dawn, who I've gotten the pleasure of working with for so many years now. She invited me to speak on a panel so many years ago on shared kitchens, and we've just been great friends and cohorting on these projects ever since. So Dawn, you want to take it away?
Thank you. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. I'm very excited to share with you the information on the toolkit today. First, I just want to give our thanks to the other members of our incredible team. First, Ashley, as she mentioned, is been just a visionary leader in the shared kitchen space for quite a long time here, and we're going to talk about some of the additional resources at the end of this that her team has developed. And on that team is Haley and Tyler from the Food Corridor. They've been tremendous support on the survey, which we'll be talking about, and the coordination. This project really involved a lot of different shared kitchens contributing in many different ways, which we'll explore. And Tyler and Haley have been really fundamental to that. We also had excellent outside help from Rose, Megan, and Tyler. They really brought their magic to the final editions of the toolkit in its many formats. So we thank them for that. And so, as Ashley mentioned, this first started back in 2018 with the first edition of the toolkit. That was funded by the USDA as well through a SARE grant, which was administered by Purdue University Extension. And that project was really a cornerstone publication in the shared kitchen space, in that it was a comprehensive and practical guide that really there wasn't anything else that was that extensive at the time. We really worked on that edition to make it something that would help new kitchen launch and that would go through all the steps from idea all the way to opening the doors. And we tried to do that in a way that would be effective for a variety of different types of kitchens, from nonprofit kitchens to what we often call kitchen entrepreneurs, just startups that are doing this as their own business, and then also institutional kitchens like universities that sponsor shared kitchens. And in order to have that big, broad tent, we had to think about what are the typologies of kitchens, what are the models that need to be distinguished from each other so that we can create a shared language around what is a shared kitchen, what's a food hub, what's a food business incubator. And that publication really helped do that. And the roadmap that it created for new kitchens really helped in the expansion that we saw in the years after that. So since 2018, there's been tremendous growth in the industry. We've seen expansion nationwide in both rural and urban and suburban areas. We've seen certain models really gel and become successful and then be replicated over and over around the country. We've also seen a tremendous innovation in these models with people taking parts of retail, distribution, pop-up restaurant spaces and combining them with shared kitchens in a way that's really unique to their own community and to the needs that they see in their community. We also saw an expansion of funding in the recent years. There's been more investor-funded kitchens, particularly with the ghost kitchen concept, and more investment in CPG startups in general, and then also more grant funding that's allowed nonprofit kitchens and kitchens that are mission-driven to offer opportunities for underserved communities. That's also really expanded over the last 5 years. More resources online also really helped. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of those resources as we go. And the food corridors really played a tremendous role in supporting all this growth over these years. You see in the graph here, the majority of kitchens we found in our survey have been started since in the last 10 years, since 2015. And all of those are better networked because of the work that the Food Corridor has done through the network for incubator and commissary kitchens. There's shared kitchen summits, as well as what we've seen at the state and local level, where shared kitchens have started to create their own local networks and share knowledge and really support each other in that way. And as a result, the best practices have been solidifying. And that really gave a tremendous opportunity for us in this new edition to really highlight some of the things that we see that are working for shared kitchens around the country. So endeavoring into the second edition was very exciting. We could see over these years opportunities to expand sections of the toolkit that like risk management that hadn't been addressed as thoroughly in the first edition. And one of the things that we learned in talking to folks is that they were referring to the toolkit over the lifespan, the whole life cycle of their kitchen, not just in the startup phase. And so in the second edition, we were very excited to learn from them about how they're using it, what information they wanted to see expanded. And so we hosted a discussion with the shared kitchen community. We gathered feedback online. We had one-on-one interviews with folks. And from that, we help tailor this new edition to the growing needs of this changing community. We conducted a shared kitchen operator survey, which Ashley's going to go into in much greater detail. Her team really spearheaded that. And then we expanded the engagement with reviewers, interviews, guest experts, and many more photographs, samples. We had all kinds of exciting examples to show you in this toolkit. All of this was made possible, as Ashley mentioned, from the funding that we received from the Food Business Resource Center from Northwest and Rocky Mountain region. This gives you a little bit of a picture of the kind of engagement that we had from shared kitchens and industry experts in the development of the toolkit. We were really honored to have so much involvement. Folks submitted photos that are used throughout. They shared their floor plans, and reviewed chapters and gave us tremendous insight into their methodologies that are working around the country. The process that we took as Ashley mentioned, was really quite in depth. We did this initial audit of the whole toolkit. We checked to see what had been outdated in terms of links and other information. And then we engaged the community for quite a few months and then dove right into the drafting and the editing, again, getting more feedback along the way. And then finally doing the copy editing, the designing, indexing, and referencing, which we'll show you is really made this new edition much more accessible. It's now available in different formats, and also it's the indexing and the referencing makes it much easier to find the information that you're looking for and really use it as that resource manual that I mentioned that we were really hoping to achieve in this one. This new edition is quite large, quite a bit larger than the first one.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. Yes, the expanded content, it essentially doubled the length of it. So we now have 350 pages of information, again, covering every stage of the shared kitchen journey from just engaging with your community, thinking about your market, and then going all the way through the construction and design phase and into operations, and then really optimizing that with marketing and operational efficiencies. As we mentioned, we had an updated survey, and that data is sprinkled throughout, which is really helpful in bringing some perspective to the kinds of information we're sharing. We also brought in more samples. There's an excellent marketing plan that Ashley contributed to it that really gives you an idea when we say, oh, you should develop a marketing plan. It really helps if you have an example to work off of to see what we mean by that. And as I mentioned, really focusing on the operational side, what are some of the technologies and policies and things that can really streamline the operations. We also expanded financial projections and pricing insights. We know that's really the nuts and bolts that helps keep these kitchens open. So put a lot of emphasis on that. And then we had some great case studies that give you a sense of how other kitchens are solving problems like finding funding and expanding. And we gathered insights from the Network for Incubator and Commissary Kitchens. There's really lively discussions on there where people talk about specific things like what kind of sensor did you find is most helpful for this? And we were able to sprinkle those throughout the whole toolkit to really provide that really practical advice that you get from the community. And as I mentioned, it's also in a variety of formats this year, which is exciting. And we love this cover photo. It just really, celebrates the energy and the community in these kitchens.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all can tell she's jumping in front of the kitchen. It's a little bit black in the background, but she's jumping for joy, and we're jumping for joy to finally launch this as well. So
yes. So as I mentioned, the toolkit is developed for a variety of audiences, and we think that's one of the things that really makes it special and unique. So one of the things that we kept in mind is that there are a number of stakeholders that need to understand shared kitchens for all those shared kitchens to succeed in our communities. And that includes some of the support organizations like community development and economic development groups, as well as business advisors, funders. If they don't understand how these models work and what success should look like, then it's very hard for them to then provide the support on the policy side, on the funding side, and on the support side. So there's a number of ways that these stakeholders can really learn more about your kitchens from this, looking at the financial feasibility, getting advice for how to engage a community in an initial conversation about does our community need a shared kitchen or a food business incubator, and then looking at the different models that they can draw from to determine what their community needs might be. And for new kitchens, there's just a wealth of information in this. For those that are starting new kitchens that are privately owned, it really helps them by understanding how to look at the market and assess that if you're doing it yourself and you have to do that market analysis and look at your own feasibility without the help of a consultant. We walk you through the steps of how to do that. We talk a lot about doing the financial projections and the rate structure. What does utilization really look like? What's a realistic utilization to project when you're starting a new kitchen? And how do you approach the mix of tenants, clients that you're going to have in that space? What do those members really look like? That's going to make it a robust member base for you. For public sector kitchens and university run kitchens, we also offer a lot of helpful information about the policies and procedures and the regulatory compliance that can be important for everyone. And then for existing kitchens, this again was a growth area in this toolkit. We looked a lot at helping to explore the different opportunities for revenue, including value-added services, different rate structures, different fee structures that can help to provide the stability that helps shared kitchens succeed. We've seen over these years that the kitchens that are really robust and expanding maybe to multiple locations or growing their programs, those ones have a variety of different revenue sources. And sometimes it's on the incubation side, they're creating programs and receiving either grant funds or fees on that side, or it's on the fee side for different types of users, community-based users, one-off rentals, events, those sorts of things. So we really explore a lot of that. We talk a lot about marketing and the risk management and facility management, including food safety. That's very vital to these kitchens. Now I want to pass it back to Ashley so she can talk a little bit more about the survey and what we found and how that influenced the toolkit.
Thanks, Dawn. So I guess you guys can see there's a lot in the toolkit. We expanded it so much and really think it's going to be a powerful resource, like Dawn said, for multiple parts of the shared kitchen community. So folks that are supporting shared kitchens, either through financing or local government, folks that are thinking about starting shared kitchens, and then folks that are already operating shared kitchens but are looking for best practices and better ways to do what they're doing, because this is an emerging industry. This is something that just in the last 10 years we've seen is gaining momentum. And we really wanted to focus on the collective knowledge of this community. And that's a lot of what the NIC is really about for us, and are also the events that we put on, bringing together the communities and having a knowledge exchange so that we can learn from each other. One of the parts of that is our shared kitchen operator survey. And so the first shared kitchen operator survey was done by a company called ESI out of Philadelphia. And they did their survey long before I had even started the food corridors, a few years before. And then the next time that they were doing the survey, I actually partnered with them to do the survey because I had aggregated up so many kitchens across the country. And so I had an increased access to these kitchens for better data and data collection and results. And so ESI has moved on to do other work and said that we were, open, or they were fine with us continuing to do the collection of data. And so we were able to leverage the funding from the toolkit to say, all right, let's also reprioritize doing our shared kitchen survey. And so we conducted that survey at the very beginning of the toolkit launch. That was September through November of 2023. There's 83 questions. It is not a short survey by any means, but I think the thing that's really important about this survey is no one else is collecting this information. And so because of that, I think the community itself knows how valuable that this information is. And they also know that we are a trusted partner that's going to give that data right back to the community that we serve, because they're empowered by it and they're better with it. And so I think people get kind of nervous about, why would I give you my data and tell you things about my kitchen? What are you going to do with it? But they've learned over time that we're just going to give you that data back so that you can be a better. And so we had a 66% completion rate. On average, it took about 25 minutes. Most of it actually took an hour, the ones that actually completed to the end. We had 201 full responses, and you can see over the years, moving from ESI doing it, they had 60 responses. And then when we came on board to support them and gave access to our community, we were able to leverage our community to 180 responses and then 201. I will say that the new shared kitchen operator survey is launching in a couple months. And so please, if you have a shared kitchen or are in the planning phases of a shared kitchen, keep your eyes peeled for that. This data is really important, and we'd love to have your contributions to that as well. The full summary data from the survey that we did is in the toolkit. So in chapter 21, every question that we asked and all of the summary data is in there. So if there's specific things about pricing or funding or anything that you're trying to communicate with your community, you can leverage that data directly from there for any reports that you're trying to write or funding you're trying to go after. So it can be really powerful that way. And the neat part about this is those charts and graphs, as Dawn said, we integrated and sprinkled all of this data throughout the chapters of the toolkit. So it's very much data backed. All the things that we're talking about is backed by the data that we found in the survey. And we're in the process of kind of refining the survey for the next time around. So I was going to go ahead and kind of dig into some of the things we found, because we find, you're probably here because you're interested in this, this work. So Dawn kind of showed this already in a pie graph, but I kind of want to also show it in this table graph because I think it's really powerful to see, we ask people, when did you start your first kitchen? And you can see, before 2009, not that many. All of a sudden, an idea whose time has come. It's like the sharing economy became popular. Uber came on the scenes, and all of a sudden it's like, why would I invest in something so expensive, a commercial kitchen space, when I can just access it in the ways that I need it to grow and sustain my businesses? So it's a beautiful model centered on sharing and community. And since 2020, we've continued to see this growth. In our survey, we had 14 that were in the planning phase. So if you were in the planning phase, you kind of got sent this direction in the survey, which ended a little bit sooner. And if you were already established, you went this direction in the survey. So we had 14 kitchens that were in the planning phase. As far as business entities, 60% of our respondents were nonprofit, 34% were nonprofit, 4% were government, and then another kind of small subsect, about 2% were either like a partnership, so different type of model, or were like an underutilized commercial kitchen at a church or community center. When we asked kitchens what their goals were, or their main goals, we actually let them pick more than one, because oftentimes people have multiple goals when they're going after these types of projects. And oftentimes shared kitchen operators are visionaries. They are the shared kitchen folks that start shared kitchens are visionaries, and they're usually the people in their community that want to see all the change in the food system. And so they get very excited about the potential of a shared kitchen, and they're going to do all the things. They're going to feed the hungry, and they're going to do value-added processing for farmers, and they're going to have a food hub, and they're going to do everything. And they're very ambitious, which is wonderful. But one of the main things we see in the shared kitchen industry is that focus is really important. Focusing on a specific business model and a specific direction with what you're trying to achieve first, and then you can expand services later, but you have to get the fundamentals right in order to be successful. So these goals going into it are, number one is assisting early growth businesses. These folks really want to see entrepreneurs being entrepreneurial. They want to, support local food systems, and they want to give people a home to make grandma's salsa and to make, macarons or whatever, whatever the thing is in your community. So assisting early growth businesses, strengthening the local food economy. Local food is at the heart of so many of these kitchens. And then I don't want to, glaze over the third one here, which is making money. And the reality is, if your books aren't in order and your house is not in order, what they say on an airplane, put on your air mask first before you can help others. It's ambitious to want to help other entrepreneurs, but I think one of the things that's really important is that the shared kitchen operator is an entrepreneur themselves, and they have to, walk the walk as far as making sure that they are sustainable and financially sustainable for the long term. That can be really challenging when your mission is to provide low fee access to entrepreneurs. Like, I don't want to charge them. I want to give them low fees. Okay, that's fine. But if your business model is a shared kitchen, then you really need to think strategically about other revenue generating sources so that you can pay the bills. And that's a really interesting tension with these kitchens. Other ones that were popular, obviously building a community, helping low income or vulnerable people, and job training. So who are the renters in these kitchens? So we asked people who are the top renters. So caterers, bakers, and food trucks take the top profile here, followed by CPG, which is consumer packaged goods. Anything that comes in a packaged, packet or cellophane wrapper. Then meal prep companies, they're kind of moving up. There's actually more meal prep companies on this survey. People reported meal prep companies increasing over the last survey that we did. And private chefs, farmers, delivery only. This is kind of the ghost kitchen model. Many of you may have heard about ghost kitchens. Those are shared kitchens that focus specifically on delivery only concepts. Instructor would be probably partnerships with a cooking instructor or somebody that teaches nutrition classes, and then other. And then this slide's really also interesting, or this data is really interesting, because this kind of comes back to the tension around shared kitchens and their existence. So we asked, why do members move out? Why do they leave your kitchen? And by definition, many shared kitchens' goal is to move people through their kitchen. So many operators believe they're successful is if they can help somebody start a business, and then that business moves out of the kitchen into their own brick and mortar, or into a larger space, or into co-manufacturing with a big company. So that's considered success. So by definition, your business model is desiring turnover, which is very strange because most business models, you don't want turnover. You want people to stay with you a long time. And so moving to a new location is obviously a good thing for that is a sign of success. But if you're not thinking about the pipeline of new renters coming into the kitchen, this is very problematic. Another thing that's obvious here, the number one reason that members moved out of the kitchen was the obvious, that the business closed for whatever reason. They were not successful. They weren't able to find the market. They weren't able, the hours were too long. The ingredient prices went up. They didn't have enough access to labor. All the things that are challenging for food businesses. Most businesses fail, and in the food industry even more so. It's a very challenging industry, and so these operators have their work cut out for them. They picked a very high turnover industry, and they picked an industry in which is one of the more challenging industries to get right. But I would also say food is special, and I would say food is relational and not transactional. And so because of that, these kitchens rely more on partnerships and community connectivity to be successful. And we saw that as a major theme in a lot of the toolkit work that we did. Some of the design trends that we've seen over the years that are kind of interesting and worth mentioning here. Many operators are focusing on very modularized and open concept floor plans that can be used for multiple things. So they think the more flexible a space can be, the more work can be done there, and the more that space can be leveraged. And so making flexible use spaces has become more and more popular and more essential to a successful model. Additionally, as we saw on the last slide, if folks are moving out of your kitchen, many of the operators are trying to figure out how to extend the lifeline or the life of that renter in their kitchens. So we've seen a trend of operators adding in private or semi-private production spaces that somebody that's successful can move into their own space and pay a monthly lease versus being in the shared workspace. And this is giving them an extension of their relationship with those operators. So we're starting to see that as becoming a really interesting trend. Also in that vein, we're seeing more and more kitchens focus on co-manufacturing and co-packing production. So not only are they trying to kind of maybe give additional spaces for these businesses to manufacture their food, but many of them are looking at ways that they can manufacture the entrepreneur's food as a service. And so at our Shared Kitchen Summit, many of you, I think, were in the rooms at when we were in New Orleans, but there was a lot of talk about services being provided by shared kitchens to help bring the labor as a service and do the co-manufacturing on behalf of these kitchens. And so we're starting to see those types of facilities and areas be added to shared kitchens so that they can specialize in those types of services. Additionally, we're seeing more cold rooms and cold zones. So people can do like freeze pack types of processing or things like having a cold room so that chocolate production can happen. We're seeing like specialized zones for that. Dawn mentioned that a diversity of revenue streams is really needed. And so we're starting to see event spaces and retail spaces as ancillary to shared kitchens, having a pop-up retail space in the back and the shared kitchen in the front, and then giving the renters in the back the opportunity to sell in the front. I know Meadowlark is here from Wyoming, and I know that's how you guys have structured Meadowlark Kitchen. It's a common design trend that we're seeing across the board. And then a few other interesting things that we've seen is Wendy, hi. Food truck commissaries. So folks that focus on a specific type of renter, so specifically food trucks, they just have really unique needs. They need to be able to dump their gray water. They need to be able to pick up ice. They need to do their dishes, but they don't necessarily need the manufacturing space that some of these other folks that are needing. And so we've seen a couple folks be like, all right, I'm going to focus only on food trucks and just that's the type of shared kitchen I'm going to have. And we've seen a couple entrepreneurs be really successful at that. And then I mentioned kind of the delivery only focus. I do want to kind of put a pin in this one. While this has been a trend since COVID for sure, and maybe during COVID, this trend has, I would say, plateaued a little bit. And I think the reason is, or I'm pretty sure that the reason is, when you do focus on one type of entrepreneur, you're really closing down your opportunities for diversification in your space. And so if you think about a shared kitchen, and if you're open 24 hours and your goal is to be operational 24 hours, you need a diversity of renters that need different times of day, and not the same type of entrepreneurs that all need the same time of day. And so if you're doing delivery only, those folks are operating at the same times all the time. But if you have a diversity of renters, you have bakers coming in early in the morning, they leave, and then the lunch crowd comes in, and then they leave, and then maybe the afternoon CPG crowd, and then the weekend hits, and you have caterers, and you have event planning, and that type of thing, and the food trucks come in. And so with that diversity over the course of the time frames that are offered, you can really increase your percent utilization. And we've seen folks that focus only on delivery not really be able to hit those levels that they need to. And because of that, they have to drive up prices, which make it pretty inaccessible for most people to start businesses under this umbrella. So with all that said, I feel like I've been talking a long time, but how would you like to look inside the toolkit? I see all of your faces smiling. Well, I see 4 of you. Hopefully everybody's just as engaged. Oh, hello, Martha. All right, so let's take a look inside. I'm just going to kind of show you the first couple pages here. Oops. Yeah, here you go. Can you guys still see? Yeah, awesome. All right, so this is a Hazing flip book, which is really fun. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but when you turn the page, it makes the paper sound. Can you hear it? Yeah, okay, yeah. It's kind of fun. It's like you're reading an actual book. Yeah, so all of the acknowledgements are here. We showed you guys this, and I know Dawn went over this, but so many people contributed to this. Like, you know, the knowledge does not only reside in Dawn and I's head. We really needed to go to the community to ask them for their contributions. So we had tons of experts, tons of reviewers. Many of you will see your name on here because you were part of the Northwest Regional Food Business Center or a part of our theme team and helped contribute to the review process, which we thank you so much for. The contents, so I think Don mentioned we have 22 chapters. The first part of the toolkit is kind of the introduction stuff, the stuff for folks that are just getting started. So we have a whole chapter on industry overview and models. And then we have business model design, and then focus kind of on the value added stuff. So community programming and services, business incubation programs, and then services planning. Because as Dawn said, rentals itself is not enough to sustain a shared kitchen. It's really these integrated services that provide additional value to your kitchen that help cover the bills. Additionally, for new kitchens, we have a whole chapter on marketing. Dawn mentioned this. I think of all of the toolkit chapters, this is probably my favorite chapter. I really enjoyed authoring this chapter because I was able to kind of create this kitchen, this fake kitchen sample that I called All Rise Bakery. All Rise. And I used them as an example and gave an example of a marketing plan and how they would position themselves in the community and who their target client would be and how they would communicate their value propositions in their community. And so I kind of had a little bit of fun kind of digging into that and really giving a tangible sample that people can really look at and kind of emulate in their own community. Chapter 7 is probably one of the most powerful chapters, is the pricing models chapter. This is all done, a lot of the survey data is integrated into this chapter, as well as lots of feedback from the NIC. So we have NIC nuggets all over this chapter, really talking about pricing. Of all the questions people ask us at the food corridor every time somebody demos our software, what should my pricing be? And it's like, well, that depends. Where are you? Where are you located? What other kitchens exist? I mean, it's not an easy kind of like, here's your price. There's a lot that goes into pricing, and it changes every year, if not every season. And so we really try to create a dynamic chapter there that gets you thinking about the thought questions around your specific kitchen. And that leads really into our financial planning and management. So we really tried to bulk up this part, is kind of what I mentioned about, getting your house in order before you can service others, really understanding the nuts and bolts of a kitchen and what your operating costs are, what your break even is, and what you need to charge, as well as how full your kitchen needs to be. So we help you back into with assumptions and give you samples and examples of what that might look like at different percent utilizations and what you need to make every month in order to reach your target. So we really try to make some strategic guardrails around that for you. And then funding strategies, we have kind of different types of funding strategies that we talked about. I will say one of them is grants. Those of you that are live in the United States might know right now that that part of the chapter might be dated as soon as we go to publication. So take it with a grain of salt and find other ways to support your kitchen. I say that in jest and joking, but I mean, we all are facing realities right now. So if there's stuff in there, make sure you're checking online to make sure that those grants are still available, and don't just take our word for it. And then kind of moving more into the post-operation and operational related chapters, we have a whole new chapter on regulatory compliance and really understanding food safety and the regulatory agencies at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, and what that landscape looks like for mostly around licensure, but also around food safety. That's a whole new chapter that did not exist in our first toolkit, so that's all new. And then we went into facility design and equipment, how are kitchens laid out, how can you get the most bang for your buck in your layout and your space. If you're looking for a space, we have a whole chapter on site search and how to have a project management. So a lot of folks don't have their space yet and need to kind of move into thinking about how to have a thought or frameworks around their project management for finding their space. What sort of questions should I be asking? What sort of experts do I need to have on my team? What sort, if I'm doing a full renovation on a building, what's that really going to cost me? And should I add 20%? Absolutely. And then moving into kind of the post once you found your space and you're becoming operational, facility management is a really powerful chapter talking about actually how to make the day-by-day management happen. Staffing your kitchen is a new chapter talking about what kind of people are good to have on your team, when to have your first hire, who should be your second hire. We have a whole example job description in there, a sample job description from Hudson Kitchen in New Jersey that kind of gives you an understanding of what a job description would look like for a shared kitchen operator. We also have a list of interview questions that you might be able to ask somebody. So really trying to give people tangible, things to actually work with and from, and not just be at a theoretical level, very practical level. Moving on to contracts, risk management, and insurance, we had a lot of experts from insurance companies help us. The food liability insurance program helped us review and insure my kitchen. So we actually had experts give kind of their thoughts on what the insurance and risk landscape looks like in a shared kitchen, because it's a very unique space. Not only do you have multiple people operating in there at the same time, but they're also producing food. And so the level of risk is highly variable and very layered. And some insurance companies won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So being able to talk to your provider and saying, here's what a shared kitchen is, and here's how they're being covered by other insurance agents, that can be helpful in just even bridging the conversation with folks. Branding and marketing, member recruitment and management, and then one of our favorite chapters is our key to success chapter, which I'm going to chat a little bit about now. So when Dawn and I were first talking about, when we were first launching the toolkit, we talked a lot about kind of how are we going to tie it up with a bow at the end. And what we ended up doing is, through our survey and through the NIC, we really tried to tease out the keys to success. What have we learned over the last 10 years that we know are the core keys to success to making your shared kitchen work and operate? And so there's 15 of these, and I won't go through all of them, but I'll go through a few of them really quickly. Understanding the needs of your entrepreneurs in your market. So I always like to say that each shared kitchen is a mirror into their food system. And each food system is so different because food systems are place-based. So we notice in like the Northeast region, where there's a lot of agriculture, a lot of the shared kitchens have value-added processing and have farmers that are working in those places and are making jams and jelly, and they have higher usage during harvest times. And they understanding the needs of that community and understanding that that's going to happen. You're going to have higher usages in the spring and in the fall during harvest, but that it might slow during the winter. That's an important thing to understand about your market. Similarly, if you live down in Florida, you probably are going to have a lot more food trucks because the weather is good all year round, and you're often going to see lots of food truck manufacturers. So really knowing who's in your food system and what the needs of that food system are, make your shared kitchen more definitely sets you up for success, is being intuitive about who's going to come to your door and why they're coming to your door. Cultivating partnerships. So one of the things we really like to tell people, and not harp on too much, but kind of going back to shared kitchen operators being they're entrepreneurs and they are excited and they want to boil the ocean, right? They want to do it all. They want to change the world, which is awesome. But it's also really important to be self-aware and know where your skills leave off and where you need to invite other people with skills in to help amplify the work that you're doing. And so you may not be really great at teaching business classes. But you may be really good at building culture in the kitchen, but maybe teaching the business classes isn't really your forte. So why not partner with the SBDC or the culinary school or another maybe like a a grocery store that wants to do courses on business, that are interested in the new entrepreneurs that may be coming out of your kitchen. So partnering with people that have these skills and then connecting them with your kitchen just makes what you do stronger, but allows you to bring in those experts so that your community can leverage that expertise, because you don't have to know everything. And quite frankly, no one knows everything. So that's a good one to be mindful of. Another one, we talked about adding value-added services. We talked about maintaining a diverse base so that your percent utilization is high. I think managing costs and risk is a really important part of shared kitchens. You need to know about food safety. You need to know about regulations, and you need to warm up and pony up with your local health department. I think a lot of people don't like regulators. Most kitchen operators will tell you that your health department regulator needs to be your best friend, needs to be on your speed dial, and needs to be able to back you up in your kitchen at all times. They are not your enemy. They should be your best friend. So just very important to keep that in mind on who's on your team. The health department should always be on your team. Be active in your community, foster inclusivity, and continue to innovate. I mean, I think one of the coolest things about this industry is that it's continuing to change. I mean, Dawn mentioned we're seeing like these hybrid models where it's kind of like a nonprofit, but also they have a for-profit arm, but then they have this nonprofit arm that's doing business incubation. There's always the new thing coming around the bend. And what's exciting about this community is that because we're small and nimble and emerging, we can take risks and we can try new things, and we can continue to innovate in the services that we offer to our renters and in the industry as a whole, which is super exciting, especially for local food, which is constantly changing. So just to kind of circle back with what Dawn talked about of what's included in this, two of our case studies, chapter 19 and 20. There's a whole case study from Alchemist Kitchen in Sacramento about how they approached their fundraising, and were able to start with services first and then build trust with their funding network to move into them finally needing their own space, and their investors saying, man, you guys have been so good at delivering on all of these things. Yes, we will fund you. And so they're able to piecemeal all of this community funding together. So Jacob was my interviewee on that. Fork Food Lab is in Portland, Maine, and they had an expansion into a huge facility and really focused on green building. They do a lot of value-added production. They also have a USDA certified production facility. So they were able to grow from a little tiny kitchen that actually had stairs. It was not a very functional space at all, but we were glad they were able to open up and expand into their larger space. So that was based on an interview with Bill Soretta, who's the executive director at Fork Food Labs. And then as far as resources and just being able to access the information that's most important to you in your journey at that point in time. And so we added a full index to the 22 chapters. So if you need to look up a specific thing, like I'm trying to figure out my equipment, what does the toolkit say about equipment? Or I'm trying to figure out my HACCP plan, where's that mentioned in the toolkit? Or I'm working on my cold storage. Oh, I can go to these pages. Oh, there's an error in there. I can go to these pages and find where cold storage is mentioned in there. So that's easy for you to kind of flip around and get access to the topics that you're looking for. Additionally, every reference that we used in the toolkit is listed in order that it was used. And so chapter 1, all the references are there. Chapter 2, business model design. So if you need to dig deeper into a topic and figure out where the information came from, all those links are in the very back, and you can dig, open up the onion and start pulling back all the layers of that onion, which we tried to consolidate it for you, but we encourage you to dig in deeper and do your own research into those resources that we recommended. So now you're probably all wondering, how do you get your hands on it? And that's probably why you're here today. So thank you for letting us get through all of that. So if you are in the Northwest Rocky Mountain region, as we said in the beginning, they are the funder of this project. And with the funding, they purchased a license to distribute the toolkit to the region. So if you are one of the states in the Rocky Mountain region, so it's Washington, Oregon, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado, and last but not least,
Idaho.
Idaho. I didn't forget Idaho. Idaho. I'm going to Idaho soon, so I'm gonna have to not have them be last next time. You can go directly to this link. I think Martha's putting this link in the chat. You just fill out your email, your information, and prove that you're in the region. They'll verify that you are located in the region, and then you'll get access to the PDF download of the toolkit there. One thing they did ask me to let you know is because it's center funded, we really wanted to measure the impact of the toolkit. So one of the questions they will ask you when you're getting access to the PDF is for your email. The reason for that is they plan on contacting you 6 months from now or a certain amount of time from now to ask how the toolkit has helped you or not. I'm hoping it will help you and that there'll be good feedback. But that's the reason is they want to follow up and make sure that the resource that they invested in is actually has a good return on investment, so that we can apply for funding next time we want to do this. And so that's really important. So if you get that questionnaire, please do fill that out. That's how we kind of prove that this stuff is valuable, if it is. Additionally, you can access the whole toolkit for free on the Food Corridor website. So if you just go to the request form here, and then where is it? The toolkit guide. Oh, this is on the website. So here's the Northwest Rocky Mountain region website. You just go down here and access the toolkit. You fill out this form. If you are already have a what's it called? An account on monday.com and can access the back of the house because you're a center lead or a partner, you only have to log in. You don't have to fill out this form. And so Matt wanted me to let you know that you didn't need to fill out that form. If you already have access, you just need to log in. And then the online version for Food Corridor is one of these sites. Yeah, you just fill out this form, it'll take you to the Food Corridor site, and the whole toolkit's available online, so anybody can access it there. Additionally, if you aren't in the region and you want access to the PDF download, you can get it from the Food Corridor website for $99. And I'm in the process of publishing the document so that it will be available in print edition. I know some people like to have their own bound copy. I have my own over here from the last one, and I know lots of people like to print it out and be able to take notes and all of that. So soon it'll be available to purchase in print edition, and that'll be $129 and for 350 page, document. So we think there's a huge value there, and hopefully that's you're convinced of that after seeing everything. Additionally, if you are not from the region and want to do similar to the Regional Food Business Center in the Northwest region, we do have licensing available for other networks. So other Regional Food Business Center, other organizations that want to distribute the toolkit to their communities, other food system networks or departments, state departments of ag, we have a licensure opportunity to allow you to distribute it to your network, so more and more people can get access to it. So if you want any information on that, you can just email the Food Corridor and we will help you figure that out. And then we'll end here on some other resources that we have available and events that are coming up. So for the Regional Food Business Center, if you're not on the newsletter, I think most of you that received the invite here, you probably are on the newsletter. If you're not, make sure you get on the newsletter to hear all about the events and happenings at the Regional Food Business Center. One of those things that's happening right now is our theme team, the Scaling Food Entrepreneurs theme team. Our Business Builder grant is live right now, and we've specifically written the grant to be for shared use kitchens or for folks that service food entrepreneurs, groups of food entrepreneurs. So if you haven't seen the Business Builder grant yet, we encourage you to go on the website. It is due April 1st. So if you haven't started yet, please do start getting your applications in. All of these links will be available to you, and all of the slides that you saw today will be sent to you. So everything's hyperlinked in here, so you don't have to spend all your time right now writing everything down and trying to save all the links. They will be sent to you. Coming up in the Regional Food Business Center, we also have, I think, 6 Shared Kitchen 101 workshops coming up. We did a few of these last year. I know, Alma, you were at our last one in Wyoming, but we have 2 coming up in Idaho, 1 in Montana, 1 in Washington, and 2 in Colorado. Some of these are digital or virtual, I guess you could say. And so if the spots have available spots, some of them are virtual. And so please do get on the newsletter to hear about availability in some of the other states that you may not be able to travel to. And then from the food corridor, from our company, we have lots of additional resources available that we've been building over the years. So we have a Shared Kitchen Connect newsletter, which is the national newsletter for shared kitchens. I have a resource page that's on our website that has access to our operations manual and different reports that we write and workbooks. We have our Prep and Prosper workbook, which is a really great resource on kind of pricing models and just another kind of activity style workbook. If you're not a member of the Network for Incubator and Commissary Kitchens, I encourage you to get on that site. Again, that's where a lot of the information about for the toolkit came from, was that community of practice. It's a very giving community. There's a lot of great questions and answers going on there. Great activation of that community. It is on Facebook, which I know a lot of people are trying not to be on. I wish it wasn't there, but I know if I change it to another platform, we'll probably lose 80% of the people. So I just grin and bear it and continue to use the Facebook. Coming up this November, we're really excited to announce the Shared Kitchen Summit will be in Cleveland this year. So we were in New Orleans last year. We're going to be in Cleveland this year. And we're pretty excited to be in Cleveland because last year we launched our Shared Kitchen Golden Whisk Awards, and our Incubator of the Year is based in Cleveland. And so we're going to have tours of the incubator, and they will be heavily involved in our planning process. So there's really cool stuff happening in the food system in Cleveland that we're really excited to show everybody. So make sure you put that on your agenda for early November. And then if you do launch a kitchen and are trying to get more renters, we have a listing site called The Kitchen Door, where you can post your kitchen space for free, put some photos on there, and we will send you leads. So if you're looking for more people to fill, you had some graduates move on or some graduates move out, or closed up shop, we can help you get that pipeline of renters. So make sure you have a listing on there. And now I've been talking a lot. I'm sure there's questions in the chat, even though I can't see the chat. So somebody else is going to have to let me know if there's questions, and we can also open it up to questions.
We haven't had a lot of questions in the chat yet. Willie was asking how long you all have been on the planet.
How long I've been on the planet? Is that asking my age question?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Willie, if you want to
No,
elaborate.
it has more to do with how old is the organization, because you guys have encompassed probably the Bible for kitchens, or that whole piece there. But how long you guys been doing what you're doing?
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought you were asking my age. I was like, Willie, come on now.
No.
So Food Corridor was started 9 years ago. So we've been in business for 9 years.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And there was another one here. Where can I learn when the virtual Shared Kitchen 101 workshops are scheduled? And so there is a link right above in the chat where it says Shared Kitchen 101 workshops. All of those are links that you can connect with there.
Yeah, I clicked on that. I didn't see him, but it might just be because it's in a different month and I had to scroll more. Is it not in March? Hi. I'll keep scrolling. I'll find him on there.
Most of them are in April, actually.
Or they are, okay.
Yeah.
It'll take me a little bit to get there.
Tyler?
Yeah, and so we allow the requesting organization to try and fill the space first. And we are
Okay.
about to open, though, the Idaho virtual workshop for additional registration. And that will be posted on this event page right here that's on the screen.
Okay, I'll look for that. Thanks, Tyler.
Any other questions today?
So since
There's
you're allowing one more, I do have probably more of a statement. When are you going to do your, is it third edition or something? Because you have a first and a second, right?
Yeah, so this is the second, so we're launching it now. So
The third edition or the second?
the
the
second
second.
edition is what
Okay.
we're launching today. The third
Okay. So
edition does not exist.
it's a little too late, but I think you touched the corner of it. I mean, and really, I mean, you guys are very comprehensive. I was a part of the 101 kitchen at the Food Innovation Center, which is the excellent
Now I know you,
institution.
Willie. I remember you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if there's anything, you touched it, but I think when you talk about funding, there needs to be at least a qualifier in there. And you did, you touched it to say, if you depend on grants, philanthropic, or foundations, you need to understand those are cyclical. Okay, depending on who's in office will determine on how you are funded. And you touched it. You kind of said, well, we know we're going into 25. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
Yep,
I think
take it with a grain of salt. Yep, and put an asterisk by
that's
it.
a good point
yeah,
because I mentioned that we'd seen some growth in funding over the past years, but even on the philanthropic side, we do see certain trends in funding, and something can kind of be hot for a while and then peter out. And so it is really important to think about all those other revenue sources
yeah,
and trying to be as self-sufficient as possible so that you're not at the whims of changes of administration, priorities in Congress, or with philanthropic funds. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
Willie,
yeah.
I'll also make the comment, kind of in relation to that is some of the adjustments we're making to the national survey are
Mhm.
around trying to find more, collect more data on impact for economic development and entrepreneurial growth and the impact these kitchens have on those indicators. Because if we can tell those stories, well, those types of things, I think are I would say, I don't know what the right word is, but that we believe that those using using that language is beneficial in communicating the impact of
Yeah,
these kitchens and looks good to funders.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I'm
again,
trying
well,
to be very PC here.
no, no, you need to, especially going into 25 and the next whatever. But you guys have done an excellent job, and for you to only be less than 10 years old, you've encompassed you've encompassed a whole lot of information for most people that's going into commercial kitchens at various levels and
Thank you.
commissary kitchen stuff.
I appreciate you saying that. It definitely was a long journey. And we're very excited to deliver it to the community now.
We had another question about the workshop coming up in Bozeman, Montana. Is there anything more we can share on that? I see Tyler put in the registration. Anything else you want to share about what's covered in those workshops for folks?
Yeah, so we customize those agendas for everybody in the room, and that agenda is in progress. But we do have a lot of local organizations and shared kitchen operators who will be speaking during that workshop as well to answer questions on local food regulation and give advice specific to the Bozeman community and Montana regulations specifically.
That's March 12th?
April
Okay.
7th.
All right, so it's not in here yet.
No, because that workshop is almost full, so
Oh,
it will not be on this website here.
got it. All right, any other questions? We're a little bit over time here.
Hey,
Martha?
Tyler, I have a question. So I think I signed up for the Bozeman, Montana one. I hope I did, but how can I find out if I actually did?
Did you receive an email from me with the survey link?
Maybe. It's been a while.
I'm gonna put my email here in the chat. Send me an email and I'll look up and make sure you're on
Thank
the
you.
list.
Thanks, Tyler. All right. What do you think, Martha?
I think I'll stop the recording here if that's okay.
That's okay.
Okay.